near over because it's only about halfway through. Let's get you out to Worcester right now. Jorge Quiroga has been there. And Jorge, we're only just now reaching the cold temperatures that you've been in for hours out there.
That's right. Well, one difference between now and the last time I spoke to you, the hood has finally come up. The wind is whipping, and if you stand out here long enough, well, I think it feels like around 0 degrees, but if you stand out here long enough, it is really starting to feel really, really cold. Of course, it doesn't hurt that I've got about 6 layers underneath this jacket. Now, Ralph right there, you see him? That's Ralph right behind us. He has been here all day, all night, all afternoon, I should say, and into the night. He's been clearing here, the City Hall Plaza, along with the other crews, and something tells me he's going to be here. He's pulling an all-nighter tonight. Now, one quick clarification. Earlier, when I mentioned the National Grid numbers of outages for Worcester, under about 100, I think National Grid meant the Worcester area. I just got a text from the city manager, Michael O'Brien. He says, in the city proper, only one customer in Worcester without power. In addition to that, the Mass National Guard is in Worcester to assist with any emergency medical transports if they're needed. So far, they haven't been needed. Overall, however, no major problems yet. That's the direct news from the city manager's office. Again, this is as predicted. We're now really getting into the heart of this, and you can feel the wind is whipping up. The snow keeps it's coming down sideways. As it's a cliche by now, but that's really the way it's doing. In terms of accumulation, it's really hard to tell. We can tell you the snow drifts are definitely about a foot high. Anyway, reporting live from Worcester, Jorge Quiroga, WCVB News Center 5.
Was it me or is Ralph driving that truck a little close to Jorge?
Close to Jorge.
I was just checking.
Yeah.
Let's go to Kimberly Bookman. She's live in Dedham. She's been in Foxborough, Norwood, and Dedham. You've been buried in snow all night, Kimberly.
All along Route 1.
Absolutely, that's right, you guys. We are now in an office park here in Dedham, and along Route 1, this is what the plows have been going into. They basically have been going into these parking lots trying to remove the snow. They have about 10 inches of snow that they're working on out here. And honestly, they're not making a lot of headway. We have talked to these plow drivers, and they tell us that the snow is so very heavy, it's very difficult to even move. And many of them are actually having to abandon their plows, or that the plows are not working at all because it is so heavy. We just want to show you what we're dealing with here. Just absolutely piling up against the office buildings, really high on top of the shrubs. In fact, if you want to come around here with me, you can see these folks, they pulled into the office park here and they got completely stranded. They can't move their car. They're now taking shovels out and trying to get out of this office park because that's what you're dealing with here. It's so very thick, it's so very heavy, it's sticky. And actually, I was listening to the newscast in my ear here for the last couple of hours, along with many people at home, and listening to Ginger Z actually talking about what sounded like pins and needles when she was talking about the snow sort of smacking her in the face. That's exactly what we're experiencing out here as well. Very harsh winds, snow coming at you with vengeance, and what's on the ground just keeps piling up because the plow drivers just simply can't get at it at a quick enough speed. Reporting live from Dedham, Kimberly Bookman, WCVB News Center 5.
So we want to bring Mike Wonkum back into the picture now, and I just looked over my shoulder. Do you see that dark band that they're looking at, Metro West area?
Yeah.
Mike, talk to us about that.
Yeah, let's take a glance at Weather 3. I think that's probably going to be the best way to take a look at this one. And
it's growing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and a very large one. We had that very large one, which is off to the west right now, that moved it kind of inland, and now what you're seeing is that one kind of around the Boston area, and that's where we're getting some tremendous reports of
that second one was rather spotty, and it seems to have filled in that line from Gloucester all the way down to Providence now.
Yeah, and I wouldn't, we're going to watch it here over the next, say, 15, 20 minutes to see if it fills in, because we saw that earlier with that band that's now out there to the west quite a ways. We saw that one, it's out towards Orange and Springfield and that area. That one actually started out down to Connecticut and then kind of just filled all the way up toward the north. And so we're seeing this one now to see if it goes from Gloucester, really Plum Island actually is where it's at right now, between 128, 485, and then see if it fills in all the way to Providence. So that's the kind of banding that we talk about with these storms.
And I also know you've gotten some reports here of some serious damage in Scituate, for example. A transformer had blew off a people, I guess, on Surfside,
off
of a pole in
there,
Surfside, Cohasset. A tree down and wires at Sawyer Street. Also, roads flooded, impassable due to some flooding. Trees down that are blocking roads in Cohasset. Other places,
Border Street along Cohasset, it had a lot of water come on to it. Surfside, of course, we talked about that one earlier. They've also had some transformer issues down there. A lot of power outages in Scituate right now. So, and that's again, we don't know exactly. We know the tide happened. We don't know what the damage looks like yet, though, because we haven't really got a chance to get in there. And to be honest with you, the police and fire departments are probably busy trying to help other people who are without power. The thing about it, I think back, with Sandy. It was relatively warm. This is a cold, cold night to go without power.
We've seen some evacuations in Quincy. We heard about that. Are you at all concerned that more of those coastal communities will need to be evacuated because of flooding, because of other issues?
Tonight, maybe not, but this may have scared enough people that said, we're not going to hang around for the next tide. That was kind of scary. We talk about that. Sometimes people who are in a storm and are really in a storm, they're the first ones out of town when they say evacuate. Those who are close to it and they say, well, that wasn't that bad. They're the ones that kind of hang around for the next storm. So it's this whole psychological thing that actually is studied meteorologically to see why people evacuate, why people don't evacuate, why they behave in certain situations. So we're really going to keep an eye on that tide tomorrow, which is coming in at 10 a.m. Because remember, it's going to be another 1.5 feet, 2 feet higher than what we saw tonight.
What we saw earlier this
right.
evening.
So what you saw tonight, you're going to see that again, but worse. So that's why I think you're going to see a lot more evacuations going on, voluntary perhaps, or perhaps even mandatory evacuations.
Well, some people may be forced because they have no power, Heather and Ed. I mean, we're looking at 300,000 people who are without power, and that number could continue to climb.
Hey, Mark, that band from Orange to Manchester looks pretty intense to me.
Yep.
Yeah, from Orange to Manchester. Yeah, that's that one that was down there in Connecticut and then kind of worked its way northward. Yeah. And that's where it's at right now. Yeah. I might be able to go over weather 2 here and give you kind of a little better feel for how that thing is moving with what's going on. I know Harvey's getting lined up and he's going to be talking a bit more about that. But
it's pretty heavy in Gardner.
Yeah, you're seeing several bands there. Now, you can see what happens, and that's just really kind of fascinating. Don't worry about the green there. That's not rain. Sometimes radars will do that, and we're going to take that piece out of there, and we'll be able to correct that a little bit. But don't worry about that rain that's showing up there. But it does show you the intensity of this, right?
Harvey, you have something you want to share with us?
Yeah, I just had some very late snowfall amounts and wind gusts to update, and these numbers are really going up there. Look at Mansfield at 16 inches now. So all these places, Saugus and Walpole and Salem and Weymouth, are all over a foot of snow, as you can clearly see there. That is pretty impressive stuff. And look at the winds. It was Logan Airport that gusted to 76 miles per hour, and Bedford had a gust to hurricane force, and so did Buzzards Bay. Now, those bands we talked about, there's another one that's in the Boston area right now and just off to the north and west. So do the math with the amount of snow. I mean, Belmont's like 14, 15, 16 inches, and we still have these bands. Another one here, the other one that we were just talking about. The amounts are really going up. And everywhere you see 0.3, that's a quarter-mile visibility in heavy snow. We've got bands just south, just north, just west. It is really wild, and the temperature has really gone down, so now the snow is accumulating even more easily, if you could believe that. Plus, we add the blowing and the drifting, and the winds are just ferocious out there. So we've got all those things to consider, and the wind just continues all night, and so does the snow. So I tell you, it looks very, very likely that not only 18 to 24 inches will be in the greater Boston metropolitan area, but it's very likely that some places might approach 30 inches before all is said and done. So I know you probably don't want to hear that, but that's the latest that I'm looking at.
We saw that heavy band moving through Boston right now. Let's show you what it looks like in Boston. Mary Saladin is there live right now. And Mary, it looked like it was pretty treacherous.
Yeah, it's treacherous, but look, we got plows. Lots of them over here, Heather. This is what's keeping things moving down here in Boston. There aren't too many vehicles that need to be on the streets at this hour except emergency vehicles, but you know what? They've done a pretty good job keeping these roads passable. We were driving around just in the past hour, and conditions are horrendous, whiteout basically, but the roads